All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. We're opening up the case files on wood-destroying insects to get you completely prepped for that Elite Associate Certified Entomologist badge. If you're aiming for the absolute top tier of pest management, you've got to know how to read the subtle clues left behind by some of the most elusive and, frankly, destructive suspects out there in the structural world. We're going to break down the biological evidence, the behavioral profiles, and the exact environmental triggers that separate a minor nuisance from an absolute structural catastrophe. Let's get to it.
Think of our agenda today as your investigator's dossier. We're going to kick things off with what it actually takes to earn that ACE badge. Then hunt down our primary suspects, termites. We'll pit subterranean versus drywood termites, profile the wood-boring beetles, build a profile on the carpenter ant, and finally, put you to the test with a final inspection.
All right, Section 1, Earning Your ACE Badge, the Elite Professional Standard.
Now, earning this badge, it requires some serious field time. We're talking a current U.S. pesticide applicator license and a bare minimum of 7 years of verifiable pest management experience. Yeah, that means you've spent the better part of a decade literally in the trenches, observing these insects in the real world. You also have to pass a pretty rigorous structural pest control knowledge test, pay the application fee, and absolutely adhere to a strict professional code.
And speaking of that code, as an associate certified entomologist, you're swearing by 4 core ethical tenets: honesty, lawfulness, impartiality, and fairness. It's all about sticking to integrated pest management guidelines and genuinely elevating the profession. Oh, and a strict rule? Always use your full Associate Certified Entomologist title properly. You never just shorten it to entomologist unless you actually hold that separate BCE credential. It's a title of respect, and you've definitely earned it.
Moving on to Section 2, termites, our primary suspects. This is all about understanding the order Isoptera.
So the craziest thing about their whole modus operandi is how they actually digest wood. These guys undergo simple metamorphosis, but they literally cannot digest cellulose on their own. No way. Instead, they share microscopic accomplices, like protozoa, bacteria, and these highly specialized enzymes through a process called trophallaxis. It's basically a vital tag team mechanism, where the workers share food with the nymphs, passing along the exact microbes needed to break down those tough wood fibers. Without this microscopic sharing, the entire colony would just starve.
Picture this. You arrive at a scene and find a massive swarm. Your absolute first task, ID the suspect. Take a look at the ant's anatomy. Notice that pinched waist and those deeply bent, elbowed antennae? Now compare that to the termite swarmer. It's got a broad waist, almost looking like one thick single segment, and its antennae are straight, kind of like tiny strings of beads. And don't forget the wings. Termite swarmers have wings of equal length. That's actually where the name Isoptera comes from. It literally means equal wings.
Section 3, subterranean versus drywood termites. Let's categorize their MOs.
Okay, let's start with the eastern subterranean termite. This is, without a doubt, your most common offender in the U.S. They are incredibly organized, running massive colonies that can easily number anywhere from 50,000 to well over 350,000 individuals. If you pop them under a microscope, the soldiers have these distinctly smooth mandibles. And because they're subterranean, they desperately need moisture. They have to maintain contact with the soil to survive, which is exactly why they build those infamous mud tubes to travel safely from the earth right up into the structural wood.
Now, it is just wild to contrast our native subterranean species with the super aggressive Formosan termite. The Formosan is a devastating invasive species, and get this, their colonies can easily blow past 1 million members. Notice how that Formosan soldier rocks a very distinct teardrop-shaped head. That's a dead giveaway compared to the much more rectangular head of the native termite. Formosans are absolutely notorious for infesting recycled railroad timbers, and they can cause catastrophic damage so much faster than their native cousins.
But, we have to build a totally different profile for the drywood termite. Finding the smoking gun here is all about locating their unique physical clues. Unlike those subterranean guys, drywood suspects need zero ground contact to operate. They completely thrive in wood with less than 15% moisture. So what's their calling card? These hard, dry, elongated fecal pellets. If you really look closely, you'll see they have 6 concave sides. They literally just push these out of their galleries, leaving these tiny piles that look kind of like coarse sand or coffee grounds right beneath the infested wood.
And it gets better. If you manage to catch a drywood swarmer at the scene, throw that wing under a scope. Drywood termites leave behind pale yellow swarmers, but the real key is the wing. They have 4 distinct, thickened anterior veins right along the leading edge of that front wing. Subterranean termites, they only have 2 strong veins on their leading edge. It is such a tiny, tiny detail, but for an ace investigator, it's the exact definitive proof you need to crack the case.
Moving right along to Section 4, wood-boring beetles, from the order Coleoptera.
So organizing our beetle suspects is a real game changer. Keep in mind, unlike termites, beetles undergo complete metamorphosis. By categorizing them based on exit hole sizes, wood preferences, and frass texture, you can basically spot the difference at a glance. For instance, true powder post beetles, they only attack hardwoods and leave this fine, silky frass with really tiny exit holes. Meanwhile, unabiite beetles like higher moisture wood and leave elongated, loosely packed frass. And the old house borer? They're totally different, targeting softwoods less than 10 years old and leaving distinct oval-shaped exit holes packed with coarse frass. This matrix right here, it's your ultimate field guide.
Zooming in on that true powder post beetle for a second, we actually sometimes need to differentiate it from a common flower beetle that just might happen to be wandering nearby. Notice how the true powder post has a very distinct 2-segmented antennal club and these globular eyes that protrude slightly. The flower beetle, on the other hand, has a 3-segmented club, and its eyes wrap around the head. Knowing these little micro-anatomical traits is absolutely crucial so you don't misidentify a simple pantry pest as a major structural threat.
Section 5, the carpenter ant profiler. Order Hymenoptera.
Okay, the most important thing to remember about carpenter ants, they do not eat the wood. They just excavate it to build their nests. They're polymorphic, meaning you're going to see a bunch of different sizes of workers roaming around a single colony. Structurally, they've got a single node between their thorax and abdomen. But honestly, their ultimate calling card at a crime scene is a perfectly smooth gallery with absolutely zero mud. That's a stark contrast to subterranean termites. Carpenter ants meticulously clean their galleries and usually just toss a messy pile of ejected frass outside the nest, which, by the way, is usually full of insect fragments and pupal cases.
All right, we've made it to Section 6, the final inspection. Let's test your knowledge. Let's review the case files and see if we can piece these clues together. Question 1. What biological tools do termites use to digest the cellulose found in wood? Is it A, bacteria, B, protozoa, C, enzymes, or D, all of the above? Think back to our chat about how they process their food.
If you guessed all of the above, you are spot on. Termites rely on a wildly complex gut microbiome. They share all of these microbes, the bacteria, the protozoa, and the resulting enzymes through trophallaxis, to successfully break down that incredibly tough cellulose in the wood.
Awesome. Let's look at the specific environmental requirements of our suspects for the next one. Which termite species is most likely to be found attacking wood with moisture levels of less than 15%? Remember, most structural pests need a ton of moisture to survive.
And the correct culprit is the powder post termite, which is a type of drywood termite. These highly specialized insects completely thrive in exceptionally dry wood. They pull all the moisture they need directly from the wood itself in their own metabolic processes, never even needing to touch the ground.
Listen, misidentifying a subterranean termite for a drywood termite or confusing a carpenter ant gallery with an old house borer exit hole could completely derail an entire structural treatment plan. We are talking about thousands of dollars down the drain and letting the destruction just continue. The details we went over today, they aren't just trivia. They are the fundamental tools of a master investigator. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. Are your investigative skills sharp enough and your attention to detail rigorous enough to earn that ACE badge? Keep studying the evidence, and we'll see you on the next explainer.